Yeah, and I've
In
been,
fact, maybe longer, 2005, 2006.
yeah, something like that. And I tell you something, can I just say, for those that don't have any NLP experience, and I don't know anybody else, but honestly, everything that I did on that course with you all that time ago, I flipping use it. And that's helped me to get into the top 2% of best in the UK in my area, you know, in what I do. So, yeah. Yeah,
Thank you. And this is what it's lovely to hear, that this isn't the type of training people come on and then just park. It's life-changing, and it fits into everything to do with communication skills. Lovely. Yep. Okay, so this is our fast lunch that we do, 45 minutes. And in the 45 minutes, and yep, have your lunch, that's absolutely fine. What I do is I cover a subject. And today I'm introducing you to my SPLATR model, which, Bridget, you won't have done because this was developed long after you did your training. Yeah. And then we'll put you into breakout rooms for about 7 minutes for you just to have a little chat. Maybe you can play a little bit with what you've been learning. And then I'll let you know about the complimentary, I've got 45-minute complimentary strategy session that I offer to people that are looking to find out more about how they can develop NLP skills or how I can coach you. That is all free of charge. We send you the information. Everyone who's been on here, we send you all that information when we finish this particular workshop today. Next week, so you know, we're moving into developing your active listening skills. We're always looking at subjects that can fit in with business, because neuro-linguistic programming is the methodology of how we create behavior. Hi, Marco, nice to see you. And Vladimira, you're in the car again. Every time Vladimira comes on, she's on the run. She's always going somewhere. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, it's basically how we code behavior. Behavior exists, and NLP skills give you the ability to break down what someone is doing so you can understand how someone does something, not why they're doing something. But one of the things that's really becoming very obvious with the work that we're doing with NLP in business and coaching is advanced communication skills. It's ways of building rapport, ways of getting clarity, and ways of really understanding the people you're working with. So today we're going into the SPLATR model. Now, I put the SPLATR model, I just developed this model a few years ago. And actually, when I developed it, it made me laugh because I come from a sales background. I was with Xerox out in the Middle East for 8 years. I then went to quite a few different companies and ended up with Yellow Pages. Both Xerox and Yellow Pages are a little bit, they've changed. In fact, Yellow Pages is just about finished just now because Google took over from that. But the interesting thing about the training, I did spin sales training 4 times. And if anyone knows anything about spin sales training, it's a 4-week residential training you do. And when you go through, if you join a company in as a sales professional and go through a spin selling course, you haven't got your job until you pass all 4 exams. It's an exam every week, and you've got to pass these exams every single week. So I'm highly trained in sales. However, one of the things we got taught was the most important things in sales was asking open questions. And I just accepted this for years. So when you ask open questions, these are questions that encourage people to give information. A closed question gives you a yes or no answer. An open question gives information. I went to do my NLP training, and then I learned about the meta model, and the meta model was all open questions. And it was a few years ago I suddenly went, hang on a minute. It's impossible to make sense of anything until you know what someone's talking about, the subject, and who is talking that. So who's involved, not who's talking, who's involved in that situation. Because if I say to you, oh, it's going absolutely brilliantly, or I'm really struggling, and we get that in business all the time, you get it in coaching all the time. People just jump in and come out with something without actually pinpointing you as to what they're talking about. So this is what helped me create the SPLATR model, because I thought, okay, we've got our open questions. Let's see how we can put them in an order. But the main one was When you say to someone, so if I say to you, Marco, why have you got that lamp behind you? Well, because. Annette, why are you sitting? Why are you wearing the jumper you're wearing? Normally you wear nice colours. Why are you wearing something dark today? Can you see the minute you say the word why, and this gets used in business so often, you're going straight into someone's inside world. You're going straight into their values and their beliefs, and you're challenging their values and beliefs. And people wonder in business and in coaching why people get very defensive. And I've tested this because I do a lot of corporate work. And I test this when I'm on my corporate trainings, where I'll put things out to maybe senior managers. And very often the question they start with is the why question. And then they wonder why they're getting all this pushback. So to help you understand this, I want you just to do this. Some of you may have done this with me. Just close your eyes, close one eye and look through here. And I want you to look up, look to the side, look down, look round, and then just stop in one place. Just stop in one place, okay? So take your hand away and come back. Am I correct in saying when you were looking at your situation, when you're looking at the room you're in through this, you only saw a tiny part of the room? Am I correct? The room is still there, but you're only seeing a tiny part of it. This is how we create what we call in NLP our model of the world. So, for example, if you go to a meeting, you have to delete, distort, and generalize information. You have to edit and create your edited perspective of anything. We have to do this to make sense of the world. So you're deleting, distorting, and generalizing information. When you're passing that information on, so in other words, to just bring that back to what I just showed you, when you're in a meeting, that's your version of the meeting. The meeting is happening, but you're only seeing or hearing a tiny part of that based on your values, your beliefs, your expectations, and your reasons for being in the meeting. Because we only focus on what we need to pay attention to for ourselves. So you're in a meeting, and then you have to pass on information to someone else. So when you retrieve the information, you've already deleted, distorted, and generalized loads of that information. When you have to retrieve that information to talk about the meeting, you delete, distort, and generalize again. The person you're passing the information to deletes, distorts, and generalizes that information. And then when they've got to pass that on, they're again editing what their perspective was of that situation, what their understanding of that was that situation, and they delete, distort, and generalize. And the person listening to that is deleting, distorting, and generalizing. And we normally get to a situation, especially in business, where we get to the blah, blah, blah. In other words, everything has been so shifted that the real scenario has got lost in all that moving of information. Now, those of you who are NLP trained, we have the NLP meta model, which is the gold standard if you're going to be retrieving information. That's the absolute gold standard. However, I do most of my work in corporates. I don't have time to teach managers how to use the meta model as part of a corporate training, because the meta model it's an intensive training. I wanted to find a way of putting together open questions that could be used in business to retrieve information that was deleted, distorted, and generalized, so that managers and coaches could get clarity in any situation quickly. Now, I do a lot of work with Annette in corporate. We do a lot of corporate training, and we've used this. I've tested this now with thousands of business professionals. And we now have proof with how quickly people can take this model and use this model to get really clear on a situation very quickly. And not only that, we've got lots of business professionals teach this to their teams because it's easy to use and it's easy to teach. And I specialize in making things very easy and very simple. So the easiest way to retrieve information that someone has distorted, deleted, and generalized is by asking very specific and targeted open questions to retrieve the most useful bits of information. Because we all create our own edited versions of any situation, using the SPLATR model will give you a structured way of asking questions to get a clear understanding of any situation. This is very useful for sales, customer service, negotiation, conflict resolution, and coaching. So as I was saying before, we all create our own edited version of the world. We're all creating, in NLP, we call this a visual submodality, the pictures that we're seeing. But I tend to call this a visual hologram. So if you're talking about a situation in business or a situation in coaching, you're creating a picture of that situation. Am I correct in saying that? You're normally describing a picture of things, something that's happened, okay? So if someone's trying to help you, it's really important that they also get a clear picture. So they're wanting their picture of your situation to match your picture as much as possible. And the only way to do this is by asking questions. And this is where the SPLATR model, so we start first of all, so you cannot get a clear picture. And as I said before, oh, they're absolutely fantastic. You've got to ask who specifically and what specifically are you talking about? People in business in fact, let me do this again. I do this quite a lot. I want you to do this and take yourself off your microphone. Actually come onto your microphone to do this. So what I'd like you to do is just point yourself, and I want us all to say out loud, I'm the center of my world.
I'm the center of my world.
I'm the center of my world. I'm the center of my world. No, I'm the center of my world.
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 Okay. Hi, Ken. Nice to see you. We're all the center of our own worlds. So very often leaders forget this or haven't been actually taught this. And certainly people who are under a lot of pressure in business forget this. So they'll come and just start giving you information, and it's, oh, especially if you're a leader who's leading maybe 4 or 5 people, you've got to know what the specific people are working on. So when we're working through the SPLATR, the first thing that we're asking is, we're asking the situation. We want to find the situation. What specifically are you talking about? Then when we want to find out who's involved, who's there, who's involved, the situation or the people in the SPLATR, you must ask one of these questions first. You can't go any further until you have both of these. If you do not have them, you're guessing and assuming. And it takes a second to get there. So the location is where, the action is how did they do that, and the time is when. And only when you've got that can you ask the why. Now, I have heard from loads of people that people have done NLP training, and in NLP training, we don't use the word why. That is absolute rubbish. You use the word why very purposefully. Remember what I said, the word why takes someone into their inside world, to their values and beliefs, and puts them in a position, no matter what you're asking, for them to justify themselves, because the first word that will come from a why question is because, and people will defend themselves. However, once you have got the full picture, you can ask someone, you can ask, why do you think that happened? That's one way of doing it. But why equals motivation or reason. So a lovely way to say that. So what do you think was the reason that happened? Or what motivated you to do this? Can you see how you're going to get so much more information? This is a really quick way to get into someone's inside world, because all behavior starts with a thought. And when you can get into someone's inside world, you can find out all this information about how things happened. So it's impossible to get a clear picture of something until you know what someone's talking about, the subject. You also have to know who's involved and the person or people involved. Now, take notes of this. Just to let you know, the recordings of this go onto YouTube, and I only put my speaker recording, so we don't have the gallery recording on there. I've got all recordings of all the network lunches we do are all on YouTube. So if you want to go back and look at this again, the recording's normally up the next day for that, okay? But please take notes and feel free. I don't hand out handouts here. Feel free to take photographs of the slides. Structure your initial question to find out what is being referred to. So who's involved? Only when you have that can you start to build a picture of what happened or what is wanted. So you can see this works on what's happened, but it also works when you're coaching to find out what someone wants. You're working towards what someone's goal is. The next thing needed is to structure questions to find out where it's happening, the location. How did it happen, the action taken or not? Now, that's really important when you're asking the action. How was it done? You've got to ask, not everything in action doesn't involve action happening. It's what didn't happen. You've got to look at both sides of that. What happened or what didn't happen? And then when did it happen? The time. When you build the habit of asking these questions in this specific order, you're ensuring that you're getting a more accurate picture of what has happened or what someone wants to achieve. Asking the why question, the reason or motivation, if you ask the why before gathering enough information, people can become defensive and only give their view or justification for doing something. Having to justify yourself becomes exhausting. And people, especially in business, can be frightened about justifying themselves. So when you actually build this picture, first of all, then very softly go in. So what do you think was the reason that happened? See how the reason that happened also takes away from the pressure of why did that happen? Getting into the habit of using the SPLATR model as an information gathering questioning tool ensures that you get all the information to build a really clear picture, plus the reason or motivation of what either has happened or what someone is looking to achieve. So we're going through the situation, and I want you, once this is up, take a photograph of this, because we're going to put you into breakout rooms in a moment. Situation is the what. In fact, Annette, could you put some breakout rooms together? Okay, that's lovely, thank you. The location, where is it? The action, how was it done? And the time, when, and then the reason. So take a photograph of that, because that's your splatter and that's what you're going to be using. Okay. Any questions before we go into the breakout room with this? Because we're going to, we're going to go into the breakout rooms for 7 minutes. Actually, we'll do 8 minutes today. We'll do 8 minutes. And then what I want you to do is just use the SPLATR model to get to know the people that you're in the room with. I would say, so what brought you here today? And you know who the person is. You can ask that, you'll see their names. In most cases, you can see someone's names online, but it's maybe asking what brought you here today? Can you see what was the situation? This is the situation that you're in here. So it could be, what do you do? What business, what line of business are you in? Okay, if you just want to open the rooms, and then we'll come out, let me see, 51. We'll give you 8 minutes and then we'll bring you back, and we'll get from each room, if we can get someone feeding back from each room as to what they got from doing this exercise. Okay. Okay, so how did you get on with that? Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would like to feed back? So if someone wants to feed back from each room, just one person, just a very quick 1 minute feedback.
Go on then, I'll go.
Okay, Bridget, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, what am I telling you? All about John?
No, just how you found the SPLATR model. It's just about how you were using the SPLATR model.
He's an easy guy to talk to, and he's an easy guy to listen to.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure being in the same space. I did call on Dennis a couple of times because I saw he was in the room, but I don't know if the internet connection was breaking up or something. So okay. I'm sorry, Dennis. If you can hear, then I'm sorry we didn't get to talk to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, looking at that what, who, where, how, why, I did tell John I wouldn't ask him who he is. I don't know. You know what, Fiona, you know what I'm like. I feel like in all these things, you've got to keep a sense of humor, because otherwise you can end up taking these things so seriously, take yourself too seriously. And I'm in the kind of job where I have to make my own jokes all day long. I've learned this in Britain.
Exactly.
I've learned in Britain that I was told that English people love to laugh at their own jokes, so I've taken this on wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So the only thing I didn't actually, no, I think I did find out from John, using the reason, to getting to that why, as to why he is where he is and so on. It's easy. You just have to actually be a bit nosy and find out all about the person themselves.
Yeah. Nosy or curious.
Yeah, same
No
thing.
Yeah, it's just going
I
into
don't
that.
Yes,
But as you
it's-
say, doing this with a bit of fun, with a bit of
Yeah.
laughter, with a bit of real looking into things. Fantastic. So who was in another room? Let me get some feedback from someone in another room.
Me, Gills, and Wenda. She just left us because she had an appointment.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we used the SPLATR model. We got to know each other a little bit. We understood we have some commonalities, some differences. And I think it was a flow of conversation. It was very, how do I say, very organic. Although we used the model, but it was more like what brought you here today. We got to know a lot more. So it just went so easy to know who, the location, the action. We were not even conscious. So it just went very naturally. And I just look back and, oh, we just covered the model now.
And this is what we get, the feedback we get from this. A lot of people who are quite shy, when they go to networking events, use the SPLATR model to help them have a structure of how to talk to people. So you can use this in all sorts of ways. But can you see how you really could, just by being curious and just conversationally asking these questions, you get so much information from someone. Okay, thank you. Who else? Ken, there you go.
All right, it was myself, Anne, and Ashwin. Anne seems to have disappeared, and Ashwin, unfortunately, we didn't get to speak with him much at all. I don't know whether he was having technical problems, but Anne and I used the model, and as I was telling her, for me, this comes naturally. Even before I learned about the SPLATR model, I'm a naturally inquisitive person, and I have a tendency to ask questions when I meet people. I've even been accused of asking too many questions, actually.
Go you.
And you're absolutely right about that, Ken. This is, when I was working with sales, I've always been very curious and very inquisitive. And I naturally used to ask a lot of questions. But I realized that when we're teaching this to people that maybe struggle to get information, especially when they move into a leadership or a coaching scenario, giving this structure really helps someone, even someone that's quite naturally curious. This structure makes sure that they're getting all the information they need. So this is the structure side of it, which is fantastic. Thank you. Okay, and we've got Jackie and was it Marco and Jackie and Vladimira? You were all together. Who would like to feedback from your group?
I'll go.
Okay, thank you, Jackie.
I think it flowed really smoothly in our room. The conversation was just natural. And then by the end, we'd pretty much covered it all, even though it didn't seem like we were doing that, but it just flowed beautifully. Yeah.
And this is where, when we teach this to leaders in our communication skills training, they go away and they start using this with their teams, and we get feedback normally within a week, because a lot of our trainings, we're getting written feedback for 6 to 8 weeks after we train people. And they'll start to say, it's amazing how much more information I'm getting. And they teach their people to use the SPLATR model. And it's quite, I laugh at a lot of the companies I go to now, and they've got the SPLATR up in the wall behind them. A lot of recruitment companies I work with, I'll see the SPLATR model up there, but it's a model that you can teach very easily. So I hope you found that useful. And let me just share a little bit about, we've got the NLP Advanced Communication Skills training is starting on the 8th, 15th and 22nd of November. And it's from 1500 to 1800 UK time. It's 3 3-hour modules. Now, if you want to take a photograph of that, if you decide to join, the early booking price is $700, but because you're at the lunch, if you use the NLP lunch code for that, your price will be $525. I'll be sending you the information for this. That's the link that's there, but we'll send you the link on the email that comes out after this. So you'll receive the email for this later on. Also, one-to-one complimentary strategy sessions, just email me at Fiona@the-Professional Growth Company. If you're considering coaching, or if you're considering NLP training, or if you would like me to help you with something, you can set up a 45-minute complimentary strategy session, and then we can work through what's the best option for you. If you're NLP trained, and you would like to really continue to develop your skills for business and coaching, we have got the NLP Business Circle, which has almost been running now for nearly 3 years. I can't believe it's nearly 3 years. It's $90 a month, and the offer that we give you here is $45 a month. Again, we will send you the link to this on the email we sent out. The interesting thing with the NLP Business Circle is you get access to all the archives from 2020, from December 2020. So that's all the videos, it's all the audios, and it's all the workbooks. So you get everything there, and you can actually access all that on the Kajabi app, so you can access it on your phone. So before we finish, let's get some feedback from what you're taking away. So anything you want to do, if you'd like to work with me, give me a shout, and then I can talk to you. But let's just go around everyone really quickly. What are you taking away? Just a few seconds. So Bridget, let's start with you. What are you taking away?
For years, I've tried to, let's say, curb my direct Southern African methods, and I've given up. I've tried really hard to become like a nice English girl, but it ain't going to happen. So I've just, the biggest thing I've taken away from it is just keep being, seriously though, Fiona, just keep being me. And although I'm very direct with you guys like this, because it's a different scenario here, when I'm actually dealing with people in a group situation or in the job that I'm in at the moment, it's very different. You have to tread softly, because people, especially English people, they can take offense with my direct attitude. So I have to just soften it.
Soften.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Giles.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting, because I think, like Ken said, I'm an inquisitive person, so ask a few less whys and what reasons. I think there's a better way to phrase it, maybe. Not to, I am English, but I'm not as direct maybe as Bridget is. But it is funny that just that single word of all of those can make a difference to perhaps getting a bigger picture before you go diving in there. So I think that's what I took out of that.
And it's understanding, thank you for that, it's understanding what the word why does. It goes straight into someone's inside world, their values and beliefs, puts them on the defense straight away. Yeah. Marco, thank you. Marco, what are you taking away?
Yeah, I would say that what seems really interesting is that in a business situation, when you have that at two levels, the total understanding is huge. It's like exponentially, it's good for yourself. But if you have it at two levels or three, that's magical. Brilliant.
Yeah, okay, that's lovely. So Jackie, what are you taking away?
Not to overthink it. Not to overthink it. Just let it flow.
Yeah.
And it did.
Just let it flow, and know that most of the times, and remember, you're just checking off in your head the splatter. Yeah, I've covered that. And if you've missed one, you just go back. And very often what will happen is you'll go further into the conversation, then you go back to, so what specifically, you go back again and do it again. And it just helps you get, as Marco was saying, it gets you to different levels. There's lots of different levels of understanding there. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Fiona. I've got a networking event tomorrow, quite a large networking event tomorrow. It's the first one that I'll be attending for a long time. And in the past, I've been guilty of just talking to the people that I know, but I think it's given me a good structure to talk to people that I don't know and ask good questions. I've actually written out some questions already that I can ask people when I'm attending the event, just to get them to know them a little bit better, find out more about them in a kind of softer way. And something else that came to mind going through it all is that a lot of the time, this is a bit of a generalization, but people like to talk about themselves quite a lot, and this is a good way to get people talking, if sometimes it can be a bit awkward.
And people do remember, I'm the center of my world. The minute you take someone to the center of their world, they'll keep talking. They'll keep giving you information. Yeah, thank you. Ken.
The biggest takeaway for me was the impact of why, instead of asking, as you just said, how powerful the question why is and what it does. So being able to rephrase or reframe the question, that was the biggest takeaway for me.
And why is very powerful when it's used in the correct setting. So, for example, why have you, when I start the business practitioner training, the first question we ask is, why have you chosen to come on here today? Why have you chosen to do this training? So it's understanding the why. You're looking for someone's reason or motivation for that. But when you're in business and you're trying to find out about situations, asking the why can cause a lot of problems. So great. I'm glad you got that. Jumana, what are you taking away?
Yeah, I think like everyone have two takeaways. One is definitely the why, asking why purposefully. I think that I love that. Purposefully or consciously, or rather right timing is a game changer. And the second, I just love the diagram which you just showed for how the distortion, generalization, and all of that happens, because it gives a very visual way of saying, okay, I pass on something to somebody else, that person passes on to somebody else, and finally you still may not get the actual message clear to that last person. It's like passing the parcel, right? Yeah. So I think that was a very good illustration to know how communication can really go haywire.
Well, it's not how communication, in this case, it's why communication goes haywire, because that's the reason of why the communication, because we know things get totally deleted, distorted, and generalized when information's being passed on. Fantastic. Okay, so Vladimira, what are you taking away?
For me, it's also the why, but because when you go to maybe like different like webinars or seminars, or you try to learn something, they always start with your why. You need to know your why. You need to know, and they drill that into so much, and people don't even know their why yet. And I think this is such an amazing way to actually really get to their whys. That's authentic rather than on the spot. Oh, why? It's like you said, it's because I want this, I want that, and then that they don't necessarily want that, but that was the quick response because they were put on the spot and they were not asked the right questions. And that is, for me, that is so powerful, just to have that understanding.
Yeah, especially when you're coaching. Especially when you're coaching, it builds rapport, it builds the relationship, and it sets things up for coaching. And also in business, we've got the 5 whys. Has everyone heard about the 5 whys? Where you ask why 5 times to get to the root cause of something. So why did this happen and why? That's another technique that's used it's very specific use of why to drill down to the cause of a problem. It gets used a lot in manufacturing. It gets used, with it's at Six Sigma Net, that the 5 whys gets used through there as well. So I hope that's given you a little bit more information about asking questions purposely. And we'll see you next week on developing your active listening skills. Thank you very much for coming along. If anyone wants to chat with me, I'm here for a while. I'll stay here for about 5-10 minutes. And we can have bye for now, then I'll put the recording off. And if anyone wants to chat or say anything, fine. But thank you very much for coming along.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Fiona.
Yes,
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you.